Almost 22 years ago, World of Warcraft Classic was released, and right now there's a lot of speculation. The next BlizzCon will take place in September. It's rumored that the newest World of Warcraft expansion, The Last Titan, will be further showcased there, and that there will be an announcement for Classic Plus. Now there's a new major leak, and it says that Classic Plus is much, much closer than we all think. More specifically, it will start right after BlizzCon. In addition, some content has been released that is supposed to come to the game with Classic Plus, and we'll take a look at that in this video. Basically, it's an interesting story, although I have to say that everything from the leaks sounds very, very similar to the Classic we already know. But feel free to write your opinion about it in the comments. And with that, let's get started. Leave a like and subscribe. If you don't want to miss any World of Warcraft news, tips, or tricks, let's get started. The whole thing was posted in the MMO Champion Forum, which is also a relatively big news site about World of Warcraft. And that happens from time to time, that there are leakers there who come forward with supposed evidence about the future of World of Warcraft. One thing that needs to be said here is, don't take the whole thing too seriously. As someone rightly pointed out, there were also leakers who, 4 years ago, said that the Tinker would be coming as a new class in World of Warcraft retail. And that's been said a million times already. In the end, it didn't turn out to be true. As always with these rumors, there might be some truth to them, but there doesn't have to be. So let's just wait and see. I still find the ideas behind it quite interesting nonetheless. All in all, it is said that Classic Plus is possible because the whole thing takes place in an alternate timeline. So, the basic idea of Classic Plus is that we get a game set in the world of Vanilla WoW, meaning Classic from back then, but with new raids, dungeons, zones, bosses, whatever, and also a new story. And according to the leaker, this is supposed to be explained by the Bronze Dragonflight having placed us in a new timeline. And in this one, events unfold differently than we know them from World of Warcraft Classic. That's basically the general introduction. The whole thing might seem familiar, for example, if you look at Legion Remix or the Remix version in general, where we basically also return to an alternate timeline and explore it. The whole thing doesn't have much to do with the events as we know them from retail WoW or the individual expansions. In fact, nothing at all. And with that, let's get started. The whole thing was posted by the user Iron Seer, who, and this is always a bit, well, suspicious. He only registered in this forum in June, but he says he thought for a long time about whether he should post the whole thing or not. But he says, yeah, he doesn't care anymore. He knows this could affect someone who worked for the Classic team, but he doesn't care about that now. Accordingly, he also says he knows this because he knows someone who worked on Classic. And he says here, Classic Plus, or World of Warcraft Camelot as it's called in one of the recent major leaks, is an alternate timeline. And as already mentioned, made possible by the magic of the Bronze Dragonflight. Accordingly, there will probably be many changes throughout the entire lore. There will be a completely new zone that is connected to the Scarlet Crusade, and in this context, we will get a weekly quest line, or rather another campaign after about 2.5 months. Unfortunately, he doesn't say where this zone is supposed to be located. So far, we have the Scarlet Monastery here in Tirisfal. Maybe they'll add it on top, they'll build it on the side, whatever. Unfortunately, he couldn't say much about that yet. But basically, the Scarlet Crusade is supposed to play an important role in the first months of Classic Plus. We'll get to that in a moment. Among other things, all the dungeons we had back then, which were already reworked during retail, are supposed to be merged into one big raid. How realistic that is, since we also had a similarly themed raid in the Season of Discovery, is hard for me to say personally. But at least it's a topic that Blizzard has already experimented with, otherwise there would probably be 2 raids right from the start. One of them is the Dead Mines, the dungeon we know from the early Alliance levels, and Ragefire Chasm. So that's the dungeon from Orgrimmar. The boss mechanics and so on, as well as the loot, are supposed to basically stay the same. However, the respective raids are locked to their faction, so only Horde players can enter Rage via Chasm, and so on and so forth. At the same time, both dungeons are supposed to remain as they are, but there will also be this small raid as an addition. Otherwise, it means that, for example, Van Cleef is not included as a boss for the Dead Mines dungeon. Instead, there will be a new diving boss there. So it's quite possible that Blizzard is shuffling the individual bosses around a bit here. The next patch will bring the Scarlet Monastery as a raid, so that's what I just announced. That whole section. All dungeon bosses from the Scarlet Monastery and Library and everything else we had will be combined into one big raid. And after that, there will be a new raid in Blackrock Depths, and after that, the Blackwing Lair raid. So we already know that one after all. It will probably be added again. Molten Core, so the Molten Core is also coming back, but not as a raid, instead as a dungeon, without Ragnaros there. And there also won't be any legendaries like Thunder Fury or Sulphurous. The whole thing is already quite different from the story we play in the raid. According to the leak, Zul'Gurub won't be available at first. The whole thing was scrapped and is possibly planned for future content. In addition to that, there's Stratholme, which we also know as a dungeon. It's being introduced as a raid. I actually think that's a pretty cool idea. There's a lot you can do with that. But that means we would spend a lot of time here in the Eastern Kingdoms for this endgame content. So everything that has to do with Stratholme here in Tirisfal, Scarlet Monastery, and so on and so forth. And actually, there is supposed to be a new class in Classic Plus, namely the Death Knight. So not a completely new class, but simply what we know from Wrath of the Lich King, just for Classic. After that, it continues with Karajan as a raid. It's actually supposed to come before Naxxramas. So again, it sounds like Naxxramas, which was the final classic raid, is planned to return as well. And then the leaker finally talks about what's going on with Ahn'Qiraj and so on. That's not certain at this point. Silithus, on the other hand, is supposed to become a much, much larger zone. So it's possible that this area could be used and everything down here will be expanded. Whether Ahn'Qiraj will come again with the world event, with the raid, etc., as I said, is not clear. And then actually the most interesting part, the release window. It's supposed to be after BlizzCon. So in other words, we have BlizzCon here on this weekend, the 11th, 12th, and 13th. And starting the week of September 14th, Classic Plus is supposed to begin. To be honest, I don't know if they'll release it right after BlizzCon. From a marketing perspective, they would probably get more attention if they announced it there sometime for, I don't know, November or so. But who knows? It's all possible. It has happened before. These are the current leaks we have on this topic. And we'll see, but we'll see. Feel free to write in the comments what you think about all this. Are you excited about it? Are you not interested? Write it in the comments, and thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Take care. Und reingehauen.